Mill calls my motherhood style harsh. So this happened last year, but it just came into my mind for some reason today. We were on a family holiday with dear husband's family, us, dear son, brother-in-law and wife, Sil and their young son, maybe 18 months. Anyway, I had noticed, and just chatted with dear husband in passing, that nephew didn't seem to be able to move without a parent or mother-in-law being very be careful. It wasn't like being around a pool where you'd expect it. It was literally everywhere, and every time he started walking anywhere, he climbed up on the sofa and immediately one of them jumped up and started, "Oh, be careful. Be careful. You'll fall." I thought it was a bit over the top because nephew seemed to just want to get on the sofa, turn around and sit down, but just carried on. Then Mill started doing it to my son, a good 5 years or so older than nephew. I asked her twice to leave him alone, nicely, and explained that if he does fall up the stairs because he's going up too quickly, then next time he'll go slower and learn from the experience. My sister-in-law actually started agreeing with me, which surprised me given how they had been, but again I didn't think about it too much. Sister-in-law and I then started chatting about how, if a child climbs on something, I'm not talking about telephone poles or electricity towers, but yeah, shorter trees and climbing frames etc, and has a fall, they learn to be more careful, or don't climb on it again. They learn. Mother-in-law then looks right at me, and in a baby, sing-song voice says it's just so harsh and sits there with her lip pouting. I said it's not harsh, it's not like I threw him into the swimming pool and told him to learn to swim. But sometimes they have to experience the pain and the fear to learn from the experience. I can't run around after him forever, and the sooner he learns to manage risks on his own the better. Mother-in-law then fake laughed and said she had no idea I would have adopted such a harsh method of motherhood. No wonder my dear husband has always been petrified to take any sort of risk or make just about any decision on his own. I need help. I'm at my in-laws, and it takes all of me to not lose it. My mother-in-law is awful for so many reasons. Mainly, she's a narcissist. I won't go into detail right now. Can someone tell me I'm crazy or not? I feel so disrespected, and I don't know how to handle as my so is worthless and cannot alter his mother. But she literally ignores anything I say when it comes to my 1-year-old and does what she wants anyway. For example, she feeds her what she wants despite me saying, no, she's had plenty to eat. She does not need more food. Then literally doing it anyway. This just happened and is just an example of what she does all of the time. It's always about her and what she wants, and she doesn't ever hear me. She just ignores me. I'm a soft-spoken person, and it takes a lot for me to step up, but I have started doing that. But it doesn't mean anything. They also insist on me napping, or whatever, so they can have my daughter to themselves, and it makes me very uncomfortable, because I do fear for her safety. They don't understand that times have changed. What do I do? How do I handle? I'm doing everything to not lose it. Mother-in-law hurt me in a way I'm not sure how to handle, plus a small success. So, I made an anonymous account, just because I want this to not get back to anyone. I made my first post just about a lack of boundaries, and since this is a harder topic I needed a different account. Anyways, so, my partner and I are not having kids, and if we decide to, we'll be adopting. I was engaged before, and we got pregnant. I had a miscarriage and it was really tragic. We ended up breaking it off for many reasons, but the biggest one was that he wasn't helping me cope. I went to doctors and we did tests and whatnot, and my doctor said that if I were to have kids it would be difficult and I'd need shots constantly and it just isn't worth it for me. So fast forward to me having this very hard conversation with my partner, and he was so supportive, but he told me to talk to his mom, my Mill, because she had a miscarriage as well. She wasn't helpful at all, and then at the very end she just said, "Oh, worse things happen, I don't even know how to handle that." I was already emotional and that just crushed me. I assumed she'd say something comforting, and instead I got that. That was a few months ago, and she frequently asks when we are gonna have kids and how excited she is to be a grandmother. It's none of her business that I have infertility issues, and based on how she reacted when I tried talking to her, I just don't want to tell her. I don't know how to tell her to stop. When I say we are not having kids, she just tells me, oh, you'll change your mind. It hurts every time she tells me to have kids. I don't know how to handle this, and it happens constantly. The success though. So we are currently living with Mill and Phil, and it's been hell. We are touring a place Thursday, and have a date set to move out. Just no step-grandmother with a long history of hating me convinced my family I had a man tell her to fuck herself during a phone call. That never happened. Is just no step-grandmother a thing? Because oh my god, this lady makes my life hell, and has for 15 years. It started off with comments like she's not really your sister to my half-sisters. Then she started saying I was there to spy on her by the FBI. Then she said if I was going to live in her house, my family had to move in. Then I had to set and clear the table every night, but I was not allowed to eat with them because we aren't blood related. She started singing Cinderella, Cinderella, as I cleaned her house all day every day, to let me know I was the unwanted half-sibling to her grandkids. She even got my younger sisters to sing it with her while they watched me clean because they didn't know any better. At this time I was around the age of 8, but lived with her for 5 years. I did this for 5 years. I even had to sleep in a bunker in the basement on the floor until winter came and I could use the porch furniture's cushions. Yesterday my mother called me, we are almost at NC, to tell me Jen stepma told her she tried calling me and a man answered and told her to fuck off multiple times and to leave my name alone. This did not happen. My mom wanted to know if it was possible anyone could have answered my phone and said those things, and I told her I couldn't believe she was even asking me that. Never in a million years would I let someone say that to her, because it would obviously cause a lot of problems that aren't worth my time. I thought this lady was finally out of my life, and I'm so incredibly angry she's trying to wiggle her way back in such a horrible way. I'm also angry my mom and family would even for a second believe she was being honest after the track record she has. I could go on for hours on this woman and the craziness that she put me through. Also, this woman gets wasted every day/night and spends hours flipping through the phone book looking for people she might know to call and tells them her whole life story and family things. I know she did this after our make-believe phone call, and now 100 people I've never met and her whole family think I'm a horrible person. Father-in-law left mother-in-law. Now the whole family is against. Context: I'm white, my husband is black and our daughter is white. I had a one-night stand at 21 which resulted in a pregnancy. Her biological father ghosted me shortly after that. My best friend at the time was incredibly supportive at the time and our relationship went from there. We officially became a couple 6 months into my pregnancy and he adopted my daughter 3 years after she was born. Up until our daughter's adoption, the majority of his family were very accepting. His mother, however, less so. She kept introducing him to other black women and heavily suggesting he should find back quote a nice black girl to settle down with. He would brush her off and ignore her. I didn't say anything because, honestly, I didn't want to look like a racist. Once he adopted our daughter, her attitude got worse. We would visit every so often to see his Phil. He's very close with his dad, and he would dote on our daughter. His Mill for the most part would ignore her. When she got older, she would use her to do chores, but that was it. Our daughter would try and chat to her about something she liked, and she would just bark orders at her. I would try my best to separate them during these visits, but she would coax her into helping then become cold when she did as she asked. This recently has come to a head since we've married and found out we are expecting a baby. She doesn't see her grandbaby as mixed, only black, and is treating them very differently, even though they aren't born yet. Here's what happened. In the end my husband did have a word with mother-in-law and she flipped. Since my previous update, she's thrown father-in-law out of the house for disrespecting her, and his sisters are now calling me screaming at me for tearing their family apart. Father-in-law, now living with us, also warned me that she plans to seek legal advice to try and get custody of our baby and threatened to hurt my husband if she ever saw him. I don't know what to do and really need advice on how to handle the situation. I'm due to give birth next month and the stress is really starting to get to me. I feel like I'm losing my mind. We recently moved down the street from my Miel to get DS into a better preschool for next year. We have a communal mailbox for our street and Miel walks past both it and our house on her way home from work every day. So she grabs our mail and stops by to visit with DS pretty much every day. I signed up for informed delivery when we moved because I wanted to make sure we were getting all our mail. A couple days ago I noticed that a letter I was expecting wasn't in the stack of mail Miel brought that day, so I texted her and asked about it. She said she didn't see it, but will check when she stops the next day. I forgot about it and didn't bring it up the next day, and neither did she. I remembered just before DH was due to be home from work, so I asked him to stop. A bit later he calls me, highly unusual for him. We text usually, and I can hear him struggling, so I ask if he's okay. This is the conversation that followed. DH, when was the last time you actually checked the mail? Me, a few weeks ago. Why? DH, our box is stuffed full of mail, and there's a notice in here saying there's more at the post office. Oh, and it's all either junk mail or stuff with your name on it. Nothing for me or DS. Me, huh, that's weird. I'll come help you carry it all in. Guys, there was so much in there. We get DS down for the night and start trying to figure out what happened. Finally we are just like whatever, I'll just go get the mail from now on, since it's clear Miel hasn't been getting everything. I was prepared to just drop it, but DH was like a dog with a bone, so he texted her. DH, have you been leaving ops mail in the box when you grabbed mine and DS's? Miel, no, why? DH, because our mail slot was stuffed full of her mail, and we got a note saying she had more at the post office. And it's all just her stuff. We've gotten all of mine and DS's mail. Miel, well I never agreed to get her mail, so I may have left a couple of things. DH, first of all, yes you did. Here's the text saying so. Sends her a screenshot of the text. Miel, no I didn't. DH, mom, yes you did. It's right there. Miel, well I changed my mind. DH, should you have maybe communicated that so Op can change her routine instead of waiting for us to find out? Op has to make a special trip to the post office in the middle of a pandemic because you didn't tell her. She has stuff for grad school in there with deadlines and now she's going to have to rush to get everything submitted in time. Miel, she should have known it was rude to ask me to get her mail. DH, you volunteered to do it and then didn't. That's shitty and you owe her an apology. Until you can do that please return our mail key and don't bother coming by on your way home from work. Miel, well that seems extreme. DH, so is not communicating like a fucking adult. We are done here. Don't contact me and Op unless you're ready to apologize. Miel to Op, I won't ever apologize to an ungrateful bitch like you. Op, that's fine. I won't allow DS to spend time with someone who is incapable of apologizing to or respecting his parents. Just in case it hasn't been made abundantly clear to you, you are not welcome on our property and we will involve authorities if you show up on our doorstep. Also, DH is sitting next to me and has been reading this entire conversation, so don't bother trying to twist my words. DH to Miel, screenshots of mine and Miel's entire conversation. Q Miel pounding on our door 5 minutes later and us calling local PD who came out and told her to leave. She started to protest, but backed off when the neighbors all started looking out their windows at the commotion she was causing. What followed can only be described as her losing her shit via text messages, all of which have been printed and saved. This is just so out of left field for her. We had a great relationship up until this point, went out to lunch together all the time, hung out just the two of us for girls night, she even made our wedding cake. Even when we initially moved to the state from our home state our relationship was still good. It wasn't until we moved even closer that she started acting like this. It's possible there's an underlying issue we don't know about. She is rather private, but that's with everyone. But I don't have a clue on how to approach this. She's also not the type to ignore an obvious issue, which just adds to the weirdness. I'm just lost on what to do. My DH and I have been together for well over a decade now. We've gone through countless stressful and heartbreaking situations with Miel and seriously nothing has happened that comes close to this. She well and truly was a just yes. Gentle advice please.